Welcome to Tell Me More Stories Told as podcast. Get ready because, wow, you send us down quite the rabbit hole this time, exploring the hamburger.
Oh, yeah.
You might think, it's just a hamburger, what's the big deal? But honestly, the information you gave us, it's revealed this history that's, well, surprisingly complex and, frankly, really contested.
Absolutely. It's like a culinary mystery novel.
But totally. So our mission today is basically to figure out, okay, what is a hamburger technically? And the big question, where on earth did this global icon actually come from?
Exactly. Forget the simple picture. We've got stacks of info, and it's a story with, more twists than you'd expect.
Okay, let's start simple. Picture a hamburger. What pops into your head? Probably a cooked patty, ground meat, usually beef, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tucked inside a sliced bun. Pretty standard image.
But even that, it's just the beginning. Think about all the other stuff.
Right, the supporting cast. Cheese, gotta have cheese sometimes.
Oh, yeah, melted cheese, lettuce, tomato, maybe some onion, pickles.
Bacon. Can't forget bacon for some people. Yeah.
Definitely bacon. And then the sauces, ketchup, mustard, mayo, maybe something fancier.
It seems so basic, but even just defining it.
Yeah.
You mentioned something interesting earlier, the whole is it a sandwich debate.
Yeah. It sounds kind of silly, but in some places, that's a real point of contention. Is a burger a type of sandwich or its own thing entirely?
Wild. Okay, so the name itself, hamburger. Seems obvious, right? Hamburg, Germany.
You'd think so. It definitely has German roots, city of Hamburg. But the direct line from the city to the, let's say, modern hamburger, it's not quite a straight shot. It's a bit blurry.
So the name stuck, but the origin isn't just they made them in Hamburg.
Pretty much. And burger itself, well, that word's kind of taken on a life of its own, hasn't it?
Oh, totally. Now it's like anything vaguely patty-shaped in a bun is a burger.
Exactly. Buffalo burgers, turkey burgers, lamb burgers. I've even seen salmon burgers. And, of course, veggie burgers.
Right. The plant-based ones are huge now, so we usually have to specify like beef burger or chicken burger.
And even that gets tricky. You mentioned this, the chicken burger thing.
Oh, yeah. If you're in the UK or Australia and order a chicken burger, you're probably getting like a whole chicken breast.
Right, a filet.
But here in the US, we'd almost always call that a chicken sandwich. A chicken burger usually implies ground chicken.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how the same food gets different names and sort of different identities depending on where you are.
It really shows how culture shapes everything, even food. Okay, so let's get into the real juicy part, the origins. This is where the fog rolls in.
Delicious fog, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, the exact start date, the inventor. It's all over the place. There are claims going back over a century.
A century. So recipes for something like a hamburger steak, they were around way earlier than I thought. You found one from, what, 1758?
Yeah, Hannah Glass, a recipe for Hamburg sausage, and she suggested serving it roasted on toasted bread.
Toasted bread. Okay, note that down. That pops up again.
It does. And then in Hamburg itself, around 1869 or maybe even earlier, there's this thing called Rundstück warm.
Rundstück warm. What's that?
Basically a warm bread roll, and some sources say it might have had roasted beefsteak inside. Some people point to that as a possible ancestor.
Okay. So precursor, maybe.
Possibly. And there's another theory about passengers on ships.
Right, the Hamburg America Line ships going from Hamburg to New York.
Exactly. The story goes, Jewish passengers were served Hamburg steak, which was, minced beef between slices of bread. Could be how the name and the concept really landed in America.
That makes sense. Food traveling with people. So by the late 1800s, the idea is definitely crossing the Atlantic.
For sure. By 1884, the term Hamburg steak is actually appearing in American newspapers. We saw a mention in the Boston Journal.
Okay, so Hamburg steak is known, but not necessarily in a bun yet.
Not explicitly, not in that mention. But then, fast forward a bit to 1896, and the Chicago Daily Tribune talks about a hamburger sandwich.
Ah, okay. The sandwich. Getting closer.
Yeah, and then they describe it as a 5-cent thing, cooked to order. That sounds, much more like what we'd think of as an early burger.
5 cents. Wow. So by the end of the 19th century, it's definitely around in some form. But who actually invented it? This is where the gloves come off.
This is where it gets fun, yeah. So many contenders, individuals, whole towns. They all want the credit.
Okay, let's hear the lineup. First up, Louis Lassen.
Right. Louis Lunch in New Haven, Connecticut. Popular story, but debated. Around 1900.
And the story is customer in a rush.
Yeah. Wanted something quick. Lassen was supposedly out of steak, so he grilled up some ground beef trimmings, slap them between slices of toast.
Toast again, not a bun. And that's the sticking point for some people.
Exactly. The purists say no bun, not a real hamburger.
Okay, contender number 1, noted. Who else? Charlie Nagreen.
Hamburger Charlie. His claim is earlier, 1885, at a fair in Seymour, Wisconsin.
A fair. Makes sense for portable food.
Totally. He apparently started with meatballs, but they were hard to eat while walking around. So he flattened the meatball between 2 slices of bread.
Practical. And the name.
The local history folks there say he named it Hamburger after the Hamburg steak that the German immigrants in the area knew.
Interesting. So Lassen used toast, Nagreen used bread. Different takes already.
Very different. Then you've got White Castle, the fast food chain. They have their own story.
Oh, who do they credit?
A guy named Otto Kraus, supposedly in 1891. Their version involved a beef patty cooked in butter and topped with a fried egg.
A fried egg in 1891. Wow.
Yeah, apparently German sailors later vetoed the egg, according to the story.
Okay, that's a new one. What about the Bilby family?
Ah, yes. Oklahoma represent.
Huh.
They claim Grandpa Oscar served the first true hamburger on a yeast bun on his farm, July 4th, 1891.
On a bun, that's specific, and Tulsa ran with this.
Oh, yeah, and in 1995, Tulsa officially declared itself the real birthplace of the hamburger. They take it seriously.
The competition is fierce. Okay, who's next? The Menches brothers.
Frank and Charles Menches. Another fair story, Erie County Fair in Hamburg, New York. Also 1885, same year as Nagreen's claim.
Hamburg, New York, not Germany.
That's their claim. They said they ran out of pork for their sausage sandwiches, so they subbed in ground beef and named it after the town they were in, Hamburg, New York.
Okay, but wasn't there some confusion about that story?
There was, because Frank Menches' own obituary apparently said the whole thing happened in Akron, Ohio in 1892. So the details are a bit shaky.
Huh. Keeps getting murkier. Anyone else?
Fletcher Davis from Athens, Texas. Old Dave.
Texas enters the ring.
Yep. He claimed he was selling fried ground beef patties with mustard and onion between bread back in the 1880s. And he supposedly even had a stand at the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair.
Ah, the World's Fair again. That seems important.
It really does seem like a launching pad. And even before these guys, there are these little hints, like an 1834 menu from Delmonico's in New York.
1834, seriously.
Listed hamburgers, though people question if that menu is genuinely from 1834, but still. And hamburger steak shows up on an 1889 menu in Washington State and maybe even earlier in California between 1871 and 1884.
Wow. So it really feels less like one person suddenly invented it and more like it just sort of emerged, evolved.
I think that's probably the most accurate picture. Different people trying similar ideas around the same time. But that St. Louis World's Fair in 1904, that seems to be where it really got noticed on a bigger scale.
Like it went national after that.
Seems like it. One report called the hamburger there an innovation. It caught people's attention.
Okay, so regardless of who was first, the early 20th century is when things really take off, especially with vendors.
Absolutely. And this is where White Castle comes back in, founded in 1921. They had a real challenge, you know.
Right, the ground beef reputation wasn't great. People thought it was unclean.
Exactly. Scrap meat, maybe not safe. So White Castle went all in on marketing hygiene and quality. They even did scientific studies on their burgers' nutrition.
And they cook them right out in the open, didn't they? So people could see.
Yep, bright white kitchens, clean uniforms, everything visible. And their little square burgers, the sliders with the 5 holes, iconic. They really standardized the product.
They even started selling frozen ones in stores way back, didn't they?
They did, yeah, in 1995. Showing that early understanding of reaching more people.
And they weren't alone for long. Other chains started popping up.
Oh, yeah. Kewpie Hamburgers in 23, White Tower in 26, Little Tavern 27, Crystal 32, Big Boy in 36. They all helped build this fast food foundation.
Cementing the hamburger in American culture.
And then, of course, the big one, McDonald's. Started in 1940.
But it was their system change later that really blew things up, right?
The speedy service system in 1948, yeah. That assembly line approach basically revolutionized fast food and set the stage for, well, everything that came after.
It's amazing. From maybe toast, maybe bread, maybe a meatball, to this global fast food empire. And speaking of global, the story definitely doesn't stop in the U.S.
Not at all. The hamburger went worldwide, and man, did it change along the way. So many variations.
Like where? What are some cool examples?
Well, France, surprisingly. You might not think of France and burgers, but they actually eat a ton of them.
Really? Okay, didn't expect that.
Then Mexico hamburguesas there. Often come with ham, fried cheese slices, avocado, maybe jalapenos. Totally different vibe.
Sounds amazing. What about the UK and Ireland?
Similar to the U.S. in many ways. You've got the big chains, But they also have their own, like Wimpy, which is actually a British original, believe it or not, and the Batter Burger.
Oh, right, the deep fried one.
Yeah, found in chip shops. Definitely a unique take. And gourmet burgers are big there, too, focusing on high-quality ingredients.
Okay, down under. Australia and New Zealand.
Ah, the burger with the lot. That's classic Aussie Kiwi stuff. Usually means beetroot, pineapple, a fried egg.
Beetroot and pineapple on a burger.
Oh, yeah. It's a thing. And they're quite firm that burgers are not sandwiches. Also, fun fact, in New Zealand, the lot might even include a whole steak.
A steak on the burger. That's intense.
It is. Then you go to China, they have the rushiamo. It's this meat-filled bun that's been around for centuries. People sometimes call it the Chinese hamburger.
Which I guess leads to whole other origin debates.
Potentially. It shows that meat and bread is a pretty universal idea. Japan's interesting, too. They have hamburger, like our burger, and hanbagu.
Hambagu. What's that?
That's more like a Salisbury steak, just the patty, often with sauce, no bun. But they also do amazing hanbagu variations. Teriyaki burgers, rice burgers, where rice patties replace the bun, even fancy Kobe beef burgers.
Rice burgers. Cool. Any other European takes?
Denmark has the booth sandwich. It often comes smothered in brown gravy. Sounds kind of comforting, actually.
Like a Salisbury steak, but
Yeah.
in sandwich form with gravy. Okay. India.
Well, with dietary restrictions, beef isn't always the main thing, so you get lots of chicken burgers, and especially veggie burgers. The vada pav, a spiced potato patty in a bun, is super popular and sometimes called the Indian burger.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Adapting to local tastes and culture.
Exactly. Pakistan has the shami burger, which uses a shami kebab patty made from lentils and minced lamb or beef.
Very
Very flavorful.
sounds delicious. Malaysia.
In Malaysia, don't be surprised to find your burger topped with a fried egg, maybe even fried chicken pieces on top of the beef patty. The Ramly burger is a famous local street food version.
Wow. Piling it on. Turkey.
They have local variations too. The Islak burger, or wet burger, is steamed in a garlicky tomato sauce. Plus lamb burgers, even offal burgers sometimes.
Wet burger. Interesting. Okay, last ones. Belgium and the Netherlands.
You might find the Bicky burger there. It's
Yeah.
unique. A mix of pork, chicken, and apparently horse meat with a specific Bicky sauce.
Horse meat. Okay, that is unique. The sheer variety is just mind-blowing.
It really is. It shows how adaptable the basic concept is, and it doesn't stop at just regional variations. Things get pretty extreme sometimes.
Oh, yeah. The fancy and the weird burgers. Like the most expensive one.
Right, the Le Burger Extravagant costs something like 295
For one burger? What was on it? Gold flakes?
Probably something equally ridiculous. And then there's the biggest commercially available one, weighed over 185 pounds.
That's not food. That's an event.
Pretty much. And you get those super high-end restaurant versions using Kobe beef, adding lobster, black truffles, taking it way beyond its humble origins.
Definitely a long way from the 5-cent sandwich. But maybe the most futuristic development, the lab-grown one.
Oh yeah, 2013, the first cultured beef hamburger was cooked and eaten. That really opens up a whole new chapter, doesn't it? What even is meat and what will burgers be in the future?
Totally changes the game. And hey, before we wrap up, that fun fact about pilots.
Oh, the $100 hamburger. Yeah, it's aviation slang.
For flying somewhere just to eat, right?
Yeah, a pilot flies a short hop to another airport specifically to grab a meal, often a burger, at the airport restaurant.
Yeah.
Just a quirky piece of burger culture.
Shows how embedded it is in just like everyday life and even hobbies. So after all this, what's the main takeaway? For me, it's just how much more there is to the story than I ever thought.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not simple at all. The origins are debatable, the firsts are all contested, but the way it's spread and adapted across the globe, that's the really amazing part. It's a mirror reflecting cultural tastes everywhere.
So what part surprised you the most, thinking back on all the info you sent over? Was it the sheer number of inventors claiming it, or maybe one of the wild international versions?
It's hard to pick one. Maybe just the realization that something so, common, something we take for granted, has this incredibly tangled and often undocumented past. It makes you wonder.
It really does. Makes you look at your lunch differently. And hopefully it makes you, our listener, appreciate the journey this humble patty's been on.
We hope so. It's been a fascinating deep dive.
It really has. And hey, if you enjoyed digging into the surprisingly complex world of the hamburger with us, please do hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss the other stories we're uncovering here on Tell Me More Stories Told as Podcast.
Yeah, we've always had more digging to do. Let us know what you thought, and we'll be back soon with another story.
Until then, keep asking questions, stay curious.
And maybe go grab a burger? You've earned it after all this history.